Hello everyone and welcome to Beast Quest Series 12 Retrospective. I had a better name for this title in my head and I completely forgot it as soon as I hit record. Well done, Adam. You're fantastic. You forget all the important stuff. So with that, we're going to get straight into this video with obviously Series 12, The Darkest Hour. So we are nearing the end of the old generation, the OG series, and yeah. At this point during the retrospectives, I am most likely going to do one retrospective video. Well, upload it one at a time. Whilst I read Series 12 yesterday, well, finished it yesterday before doing the Series 11 retrospective. I don't know. Something came up that stopped me from doing the Series 12 retrospective. And once I was free, I just thought, it might be better to do it tomorrow. So tomorrow has now come. It is now today. And we're doing the Series 12 retrospective. So that's why it didn't come out at the same time as the Series 11 retrospective. So yeah, that's probably what I'll be doing for the foreseeable future with these retrospectives. And let's introduce the beast that we'll be talking about in today's video. So for that, we're starting off with Solak, Scourge of the Sea. Then moving on to Kajin, the Beast Catcher. Then Isrilla, the Creeping Menace. Then Vigrash, the Clawed Eagle. Followed by Merca, the Ice Horse. And finishing off with Kamar, the Faceless Beast. So this is, in my opinion, design-wise, on the Beast retrospective, this is actually a quite good design series. Like, that does give me an idea for a video. Okay, I'll get working on that video as soon as I can. But this series, design-wise, actually looks quite good. Because all the beasts here look intimidating, vicious in their own way, and dark to fit in with the Darkest Hour. The whole plot line of this series is that the kingdoms of Avantia, Chaonia, and Gwildor are colliding into each other, and Tom and Alina must embark on a journey or a quest of sorts to defeat the Lightning Beasts, the beasts that have their own individual goals in mind. They're not controlled by anyone. They are the quote-unquote strongest beasts there are, the most vicious, the darkest, the most evil. And they've also gone against another Master of the Beast before. And whilst they lost their fight against the previous Master of the Beast, they remember Taladon all too well. Yes. So, these beasts have gone against Taladon, and now they're going against Tom. So, this makes it fun. We don't actually learn that until towards the end of the series, I believe. So, yeah, we'll get to that later. But at the moment, we got to talk about book one, which is Solak. So, before we get into this whole retrospective, I will say, Lucas and Jack have shared their opinions on Series 12 before, whether it's in a previous video or straight up a message to me or comment to me. Lucas, I'm fully aware, does not like this series and is only better than Series 12. Any other series it's better than, it's none. Unless a new Protectors series comes out, which is honestly a train wreck. Which would be an achievement in its own, honestly, if you ask me. Yeah, Series 12 is going to be Lucas's second least favourite series till the end of time, probably. As for Jack, I'm not sure whereabouts he would rank this series, but he has mentioned that this series starts off kind of bad, but when we get to the midway point, it starts to claw its way back up to becoming a good series. And I believe that's on both story and beast perspective. So on a story perspective, it feels like the stakes aren't there. That's why Lucas has it low. But on a beast perspective, it saves it because I think it's actually an okay series. The story does drag it down, but on a beast perspective, it's quite good beast. However, they suffer from quite a severe downside, which makes it an okay series rather than a great series. But we'll get to that and my opinion on it at the end of this video. But first, we got to talk about each beast one by one, starting with Solak, Scourge of the Sea. So for me, on the design perspective, this beast actually looks more than just your stereotypical shark beast, because we haven't had a shark beast before, so to see one is good. But then you got the add-ons of the fins around him being made of bone, the lack of pupils in his eyes that shows lack of emotion and mercy, the continuous row of teeth. I'm aware sharks have that. But that, alongside a bunch of other things about his design, despite probably being one of the weaker designs of the series, it starts off quite well. Of course, these are the lightning beasts, so these beasts are meant to be labelled as the most evil of them all and need to look the part as well. And I think Solak actually executes that really well. Abilities are what you would expect. It's agile, only restricted to water, and of course the sharp bone fins is good. The sharp teeth, that's it though. Nothing really that can change the course of battle, like changing the arena or such. So yeah, a bit disappointing, but still good. The fight involves Crab, Master of the Sea, and I believe Solak actually takes down Crab quite easily. It's either Crab or Seprom, but Solak does take care of the beast that he goes against, but then falls to Tom shortly after. I believe it is Crab, but Crab struggles against Solak, and Crab does help, but not a lot. Overall, I'll say Solak is a good starter, but what throws me off is that his abilities are generic and kind of boring, and the fight is a bit forgettable, even though I've read this book the other day. So that does go to show how forgettable it is. This battle does take place in Gwildor, hence why I'm leaning more towards Crab being the beast that's in it, but I'm not entirely sure. Moving on to the next beast, which is Kajin the Beast Catcher. Now, design-wise, this beast is straight up a werewolf, which is something that haven't really seen 100% looking like a werewolf before. We've had Luna before, but I wouldn't say that's a werewolf. But then you got design on it actually looking quite intimidating and great at the same time, one up in any previous wolf or dog-like beast there was, except for maybe Carnivora. Abilities are, I'm afraid, a bit boring as well. Agility, some durability, having the net as well, enhanced smell and hearing, okay, but that's pretty much it. So yeah, the abilities are probably a bit worse than Solak, but I personally prefer the design more. As for the fight, I can't remember anything from it apart from it's in the Rainbow Jungle, so already a great terrain for it to be in. And also it involves a Mictus. So that the fight does stand out for all those reasons. However, whilst I do like Kajin for such and such reasons, with the fight, the design looking simple but great, and I do like his whole job of catching beasts. Unfortunately, I do need to agree with Jack about the start of the series that it doesn't start off the best. And Kajin is unfortunately one of those beasts. Moving on. Isrillia, the Creeping Menace. Now, for me, design-wise, I originally really liked this beast. It looked great, intimidating, and menacing at the same time. But now I just think it's a bit generic and a bit simple. Whilst I do like, you can see its skeleton on the cover, it doesn't really save it for me. Abilities are very forgettable and a bit boring in my opinion. Even though I know this beast has a unique ability, I don't remember what it is. And even though it's unique, that just goes to show how boring this book is. As for the fight, I can tell you that Rock was involved with it, and it took place in a sort of graveyard in the mountains where it had the remains of the seventh beast of Gwildor. Other than that, I can't tell you anything about this book. So, nothing actually relating to the beast. I can tell you where the fight was, what was involved, but not how the beast died. Yeah, this is a very forgettable book in my opinion. Up next, we have Vigrash the Clawed Eagle. And for me, design-wise, this beast is a bit simple looking, but is the first griffin we see. And compared to the other griffin we have, this is a very much better griffin. So, yeah, it set a good standard for Griffin Beasts. However, I'm personally not the biggest fan of Vigarash. As for abilities, they are what you'd expect, but I feel like they were executed better than the previous few beasts when it came to their abilities. And the fight, I don't remember anything from the fight apart from it was in Chaonia and Vespic's wing was involved in it. So that's all I can tell you. And I believe at one point Tom lost his shield, and Vespic's wing came into account for saving him from falling from a high height. I don't remember how Vigarash was defeated, and that is the downside here. However, I think this is probably one of the better beasts of the Series 12 so far. So that is the plus side. However, it's not miles better than what I'd expect from the Lightning Beast and the darkest beast of them all. Moving on. Mirka the Ice Horse. This beast was also battled in Chaonia, I believe. And already, design-wise, it's great. Because you've got a combination of ice and fire. Two elements that should not mix, and they do. Making a very intimidating-looking beast that does not have your expected weakness. Abilities, we got the talon-like hooves at the front, which can hint to wall climbing. That horn on his head, which is obviously used for stabbing. The fiery nostrils, which I wouldn't say actually class as a weapon, but shows that he's not weak to fire. Enhanced durability and agility being a horse. And then you got the tail, which is personally my favourite ability, where he just swings his tail and ice shards come flying out, which I think is a fantastic ability and very well done. Whilst the abilities may be a bit simple and could be a bit boring, I do believe that these abilities are also very good at the same time. Where this beast is actually 2 times now the last beast standing in my Battle of the Beasts tournaments. And for the most part, it is because of his abilities actually being able to put up a great fight against anything he goes against. So, yeah. Mirka, in my opinion, is one of the better beasts of Series 12, and I know I'm not the only one that thinks that. Moving on to the last beast of Series 12. Kamar the Faceless Beast, or Karma, as Jack says. So for me, this beast, design-wise, is matching Mirka with how great it is, because you have that ambiguity with the title, but also the fact that you can't see Kamar's face. And as you go into the book, you see what the face looks like, looking very scary at the same time. You have also showing his scars he got from Taladon as well, which I'll get into later. You got the abilities, which obviously shooting a web, as well as durability, some agility, I guess, and of course that whip. Not many abilities, but still some good ones as well. And the fight. This fight is probably the best in Series 12. And that entirely comes down to Kamar. And that is one of the things he says to Tom through the jeweled belt is that the scars on my body are what was left from me from Taladon. I am going to do to you what your father did to me. And that is just menacing and dark. It shows a side of Taladon which you wouldn't expect to see. It shows that Taladon is not the person that we think he thought he was. Someone who, a beast that went against Taladon, got some very bad injuries, some scarring injuries, some injuries that could have killed him and he got revived. And Kamar remembers that and says he's going to do the same thing to Tom as he can't do the same to Taladon. The weakness is sunlight, which I do think is an alright weakness. However, I wouldn't say it's a great one. But hey ho, you need to have a weakness for this quote unquote strongest beast of Series 12. I do not see it personally. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Kamar, in my opinion, is one of the better beasts of Series 12 on a beast perspective. Whilst not having many abilities, his fight more than makes up for it. Moving on, well, cut back to me and we'll get to the ranking as well as my overall opinion on this series. And with that, that is Series 12 done. Retrospective sorted. So, as my opinion on it, I do believe that the beasts look intimidating. However, they fail in the other aspects. Because you got one beast, in my opinion, having great abilities, one that really fits in with the whole standard that's been set with these beasts. And then that's it. Nothing else to say. Because there's no other abilities which have ability, no other beasts which have abilities which I would say should match with what the lightning beast should have. And it doesn't really work for me. So whilst it is a bit of a shame that only one beast actually has good abilities which fit the whole standard that's been set for these type of beasts, unfortunately that is the worst aspect, the abilities. The fights, in my opinion, only two stand out as memorable for being good in their own way, and one of them is the same beast with the good abilities, so that makes my opinion on ranking them very obvious. So the top two is already mentioned. However, the other fights with the other beasts I either find forgettable or kind of boring. And for the lightning beasts, with such great designs, I do kind of expect more from what we got. And unfortunately, we didn't get it. So, yeah, unfortunately, 4 books were just disappointing, reaching the great standard for intimidation factor for these beasts on design. But then you got the abilities and fight which pulls them down and makes this series, in my opinion, okay. Because you have 2 good beasts and 4 okay ones. And 2 of which I would say are just meh. So not even okay. I'm aware Jack says it starts bad, gets better towards the end. I agree. However, is it really that much better? I don't know. I'm leaning more towards Lucas's opinion with how it doesn't reach the standards that has been set for it by the story. With these beasts being described as some of the more formidable, most evil beasts that Tom has ever gone against at this point, I feel a bit ripped off that we have only 2 beasts which I would say reach that standard, one of which is just barely. So with that, let's get into the ranking. So my least favourite of this series is, conveniently, the starter of this series, which is Solak's Scourge of the Sea. So, as I said, design-wise, it's great. Design is great, but that's the same with all the other beasts. However, the abilities are what you'd expect. There's nothing unique to add on there. And the fight is forgettable and boring, to the point where I can't remember if Crab was in it or Sepron was in it. I believe it was Crab. But that's it. And then it's also the closest resembled to the animal it's based off, which is a shark. And with the exception of the fins and the lack of emotion in the eyes, that's it. But there's all the other beasts here don't show much emotion in their eyes either, because of what type of beast there are. So that doesn't help Solak at all, and it makes him my least favourite of this series. Moving on to what I believe is the most forgettable of this series, being Isrilla the Creeping Menace. So I'm fully aware this beast has some standards set to where it can be shown to be one of the more memorable beasts of this series. However, I do not remember any of her abilities, even though I know one's unique, that we haven't seen before up until that point. And then you got the fight, which I remember the battlefield, I remember Rock was involved, and that's it. Nothing else I remember about this fight. And all that links to the beast. So, yeah. Unfortunately, Isrilla was having a good design and being in a category of beast which I like. Unfortunately, I don't like this beast. So, yeah. Unfortunately, lists as forgettable and makes it just okay. Maybe meh. Moving on to 4th place. I'm sorry, Jack, but I gotta say Vigrash the Clawed Eagle. And this comes down to the overall opinion of the design is probably the weakest of this series. So I'm aware people may disagree with me here, but I feel like for a strong design you need to have a beast which is showing off one of the key abilities or is bearing fangs as well, or just looks different from the other beasts. And whilst Vigrash is a griffin, we haven't seen it before, I'll give him that, he doesn't really look as vicious as the other beasts in my opinion. I don't know, I've learned about griffins whilst growing up, and I'm fully aware of how dangerous they can be. But when I see this beast, I don't see the ferociousness that can come from a griffin. Instead, I see the more graceful side of Vigrash, which is actually a good thing. However, moving on to the abilities, they are what you'd expect with nothing much to add on. Whilst I do believe they're executed well, the fight drags it down. I don't remember anything from the fight other than the Vespic wing being involved, so that means it is an aerial battle, but that's it. That's all I remember. I'm sorry, Jack. I'm sorry. Please help me change my mind on Vigrash. I'll be more than happy to let you change my mind. Moving on to Kajin the Beast Catcher. This beast is the last of the OK batch of books in this series. And whilst I believe the design is better than the previous beasts in this series, I feel like I contradict myself there. Okay, it's better than Solak in my opinion. Isrilla is on the same level, and Vigrash, I do believe it's better, whilst Vigrash is better abilities-wise. Abilities for Kajin are kind of boring and what you expect from a werewolf beast, and the fight is a little bit more memorable, and that's because it involves Amictus, and Amictus actually does something in this fight because Kajin kills some of her young. So Amictus has that emotional impact on wanting vengeance on Kajin, which I think was done relatively well, albeit kind of forgettable. So that's why I put Kajin above Vigrash, because of the fights being that little bit more memorable. Not a lot, but kind of good. Then we got the final two, which, come on, I think we knew what the final two beasts of this series would be. Now, I'm fully aware, this is my opinion, and I do have the list of Lucas and Jack's top 50 books that they did for Christmas as a Christmas present to me. Pleasant surprise, by the way. I was not expecting to see Jack in that video as well. But Lucas's favourite Series 12 beast, I believe, is Isrillia. Yes, so I already mentioned Isrillia. But Jack's was Kamar. And I'm relatively confident in saying that, despite the fact I can't see... Yeah, I see Kamar, and I don't see any other Series 12 beasts afterwards. Bear with me. Yeah. Jack's top two favourite beasts was Kamar and Vigrash, with Merca nowhere near the list. Same with Lucas. Merca was nowhere near the list, and neither was Kamar. So it is obvious that, yeah, these two beasts, in my opinion, are the best of this series, but apparently, according to my friends, Lucas and Jack, they don't agree with me. Lucas believes Isrillia is the best, which I do see why on a story perspective. However, I'm the beast guy. And I also don't remember much from her story either. And then you got Jack doing both story and beast-wise, where he believes Kamar and Vigrash are the best ones. So, yeah, I do understand your viewpoints. However, to me, like, come on. It's Merca. Merca has some great abilities, in my opinion. And personally, I will admit, I don't remember Merca's story. But I feel like the design being great, actually being one of the better ones of this series, as well as the abilities and fight, more than matches Kamar's standards that's been set. And they got two completely different tones with their intimidation factors. But personally, these are the best beasts of Series 12 in my opinion, and it's great these are the last two beasts of Series 12. My second favourite out of these beasts is Kamar. Yeah, the runner-up of my ranking for Series 12 is Kamar the Faceless Beast. Now, in my top 100, I remember doing, have these two beasts in and Kajin. I wanted to mention Kajin because I do actually like this beast, and some people think I don't. I do. I do think he's an okay beast, but he's moving up to the good category, but I need him to do better in Battle of the Beast before I actually could start recognising him. But I wanted to recognise him in that top 100. As for Kamar, I'm fully aware this is a good beast and a good finale to Series 12. I've heard somewhere that I think someone said that Series 12 needs to have some of its beasts replaced with another beast, and one of those beasts that fell into that category that needs to be replaced was Kamar. Respectfully, I do not know who said that, but I disagree. Because I would say Solak and Isrilla, these two, definitely need to be replaced. Vigrash and Kajin are okay where they are, in my opinion. This is not me trying to kiss up to you, Jack. This is just my genuine opinion. I do believe these Subis are great where they are. They just needed a little bit more improvement in the abilities and fight department. As for Kamar and Merca, I see them being at the best they can be. Whilst they can be surpassed quite easily, that doesn't necessarily mean they are awful. They are just good books, in my opinion, and a fun read, actually, if you ask me. But Kamar's the second best, in my opinion, because it's that whole backstory in the fight where Kamar carries the wounds and the scars that he got from Taladon, and then vows that he's going to do the same thing to Tom that Taladon did to him. This is dark, and I see why Jack says this is the darkest beast, and fittingly in the darkest hour. I think, yeah, very well done, in my opinion, Kamar is. Whilst I wouldn't personally say he's worthy of being the final beast, there's no beast in this series I think actually fits that final beast role of this series. So, yeah, not really much of a standard to reach, and that's why Kamar is actually my second favourite, because I don't see Kamar as a final beast, more like an obstacle to get out of the way and realise who the main villain is. And that's, of course, the introduction to Jezrin, who is actually an underrated villain, in my opinion, because I think he's quite good. Every one of his outings had ferociously aggressive and, on the most part, great beasts. However, Series 12 being his first outing as the main villain, it's a mixed bag. His best series, in my opinion, is coming up next, and then we got a few seasons hiatus before we get to his other outings, which I'll get to when I get to them. But, of course, we need to talk about my favourite book of this series, which is and always has been Merca the Ice Horse. That's probably a lie, because I feel like in my original Beast Review, Kamar was my favourite, but opinions change, and Merca became my favourite of this series because I remember his abilities more than Kamar. They stand out more, in my opinion, and also Merca has done very good in Battle of the Beasts, making it to round 3 in both tournaments, I believe. Whilst, yes, admittedly not that good, he's always been the last beast standing, so it's easy for me to remember Merca for his persistence in Battle of the Beast, his abilities being good, and obviously me talking about them a lot in Battle of the Beast, and his fight was being more forgettable than Kamar's. I do remember took place on an ice bridge, which shows a lot of tension, because obviously it's above a chasm of sorts. So if you fall, you're dead. Simple as. But then it's also that add-on that is made of ice, so you need to be more careful with your footing, because if you slip, one wrong slip, you're dead. You're done. Your life is D-U-N done. So it has that tension. Whilst it's not better than Kamar's, I do believe Merca's fight reaches that standard which I expected from a Darkest Hour fight from this series. And the abilities is the only beast in this series which I believe actually reaches that standard as well for the Lightning Beasts. Overall, Series 12 is an okay series to me. What is the downside? It set the expectations on the reader far too high. With a story where it sounds like the world is ending, kingdoms are colliding, and these beasts being released for some strange reason. These beasts being said to be the most evil, most intimidating, most bloodthirsty, merciless beasts there are. Intimidation factor, the design, they reach that standard. But then you go to the abilities and fight, and it's just kind of there. So it set the standards too high that they weren't able to reach. And I feel like there was a series in the future which has done a story similar to that without the kingdoms colliding, but more a kingdom coming to an end, like the end of the world kind of thing. And it was done better. Do I know the name of that season off by heart? No, I do not. But there has been seasons with a very similar story where it has been done better and executed well. And that is where Series 12 falters. It set the standards too high for what we would expect and yeah, we had to pay the price for reading what it was a rather disappointing series, in my opinion. Now, I know Jack said this series started out bad and it got better towards the end. If when he does his Series 12 retrospective, I would like to hear more about that, which can elaborate more on why he believes it's not as bad as Lucas says it is and how I kind of believe it is. Because I do want to appreciate the series, because I remember at the start of this channel, I remember gushing over this series, saying how great it was. But as time went on, I grew older, I read and reviewed more seasons, and I remember the story well. I remember the main plot, I remember the beasts, but that's it. And it just merged into the background, becoming kind of forgettable. So, yeah, I would love to like this series again, because I do think there is tons of potential there. However, the missed potential from the abilities on these beasts and the fights really drags it down for me. Was originally I had it as one of my favourites, now it's lucky to make it into the top 20. And I wouldn't even say that, maybe top 25 would be lucky. So yeah, that is all I need to say about Series 12, and that is all for this time. If you like what you saw, leave a like, leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe, press the notification bell down in the corner below. I'll be doing my Series 13 retrospective, I do not know when, but I do have a few things I need to say about a couple of these beasts. I do have some other videos planned regarding Beast Quest, and I don't know how many I'll be able to get done by the end of the year. But I did have an idea for a video during this video. So I think I can make 3 more videos out of that. And yeah, with that, I'll see you next time. I can't stop the video. Okay, let's try it again. And with that, I'll see you next time.